This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, Dennis, you want to start? I think we can get going.
All right. Well, good evening. Those of you who are watching remotely, I'm Dennis Adams. I'm chair of the Conservation Board, and my fellow Conservation Board members are here with me, as is Rick DiStefano, our secretary and our liaison to the town. I can't say the town board because Christine Corrado often attends our meetings and hopefully will tonight. So do we have any guests?
The public forum?
Yes.
I don't believe so.
All right. Well, then we'll get started. Is there a particular order? Do we have representation?
You want to do the minutes first, Dennis?
To approve the minutes?
Yes, please. I'll hear a motion to approve, and I'll take it that that's yours, Karen.
Sure.
All right. Others? All in favor? And
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So the minutes are approved from last week. All right, now on to business. Let's start with the application of Bristol Valley Homes for concept review. Property located at 3100 East Avenue. Actually,
Dennis, it should be 3108 East Avenue.
Yes, I know that. It's 3108, shouldn't it?
It's a typo on the agenda. 3108.
Yeah. Yes. Good. All right. Okay, so
I'm going to share my screen. And John, if you would like to tell me what you would want to view, we can do that.
All right.
Okay, does everybody see it?
Yep.
John, do you want me to go down to the site plan? Or do you want me to start with the...
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I'm asking for John Schraba. Can you hear?
Looks like John is muted.
John, you're muted. Can you?
I'm trying to.
Oh, good
there
evening, Christine.
There we go.
There you are, John.
John, would you like
Yes.
what would you like up right now to start with?
Maybe just the if we go to the site plan, or that map's fine right there.
Okay, we're going to start with that.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is John Schraba with Land Tech. I'm representing PEM LLC tonight, which is really part of the applicant for the site plan that we're proposing, which is a quick lease convenience store and gas station located at this site. As I'm sure everyone knows, this was a former gas station back in the day and has been set, kind of left vacant for quite some time. Having worked with Rick over the last few months regarding this project, I understand there's been numerous applications related to this property, but tonight what we're proposing is to, on this site, is to leave the site essentially intact. We've been working with the Architectural Review Board, and the project architect has presented the project to them. It's been well received. So that encouraged us to move forward with a site plan application. There are numerous hurdles with this project. I don't think it's related to the site or the design. It's basically the code. This project is located in a BE1 office zoning classification. So therefore the use variance is required. So we have kind of a long haul with this project. We've been working diligently with the town and town staff, but tonight we're presenting you our project. want to get your feedback related to what we're proposing. The site is a very small site. It's just over 3/10 of an acre. We have about 71 foot of frontage on East Avenue. And on the north property line, it's 173 feet deep. And on the south property line, it's about 77 feet deep. Runs back, our back line is the Friendly Home, and Allen's Creek is back there. And our north line is the fire department. We have existing utilities, sewer, water, everything at the site. The site is currently almost about 85% impervious. I'm not looking at my detailed notes, but what we're proposing is to remove some of the asphalt and kind of soften the site. So proposed is the only structure proposed is the canopy with 2 gas pumps. And with that, what we're keeping the 2 access points. We're shrinking some of the access on both parts, creating a green island in front. You can see there's some bushes we propose and a landscape wall. And we've also created some other green spaces around the project. So we're basically decreasing the impervious by about 10%. In the application, we're also proposing 9 parking spots, one of which is going to be a handicap spot. We're incorporating bike racks, trying to encourage pedestrian access to the site. Again, working with staff and the planning board on that. So on as far as a site plan, it's pretty easy. We're also know that this is in the Running Creek watershed. So although we aren't doing anything over an acre and a DEC permit's not required for stormwater, we're trying to adhere to what the town and county require. So behind the building and on that image, you can see there's like a little, looks like a pond, but in the future, we're proposing some kind of bioretention area to try to alleviate some stormwater management. We do have storm sewer on the site, and so some will go there, but roof leaders, anything from the canopy, we can direct to that biofilter area and try to clean it up before it leaves site. The landscaping, as you see right now, is a little minimalist. That's more due to the fact of the long road we have to haul here with the town. If we don't get the use variance, this project doesn't go anywhere. So we have to make application to the planning board for concept and then go deal with the zoning board on the use variance. I'm sure this board's familiar with it. A use variance is a heavy lift. Sometimes even rezoning is easier. So it's not fully designed yet because we don't want to spend my client's money on those elements until we get the variance. It's kind of a quick overview of what we're looking to do. I cannot speak to the building too much, but essentially what we're doing, Rick, if you want to show a couple images, is maintaining the original character of that stucco type building, adding some window elements that look like garage doors. Those won't be functional. Just a center entrance. There's no drive-through proposed. It's really gas and convenience, and that's really it. And I think that the fact that the Architectural Review Board was kind of in favor of this design has really kind of got us to the point where we are here today.
John, I just want
Yeah.
to clarify that this Historical Preservation Commission reviews.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because this is a historically designated property. So
yeah, I'm sorry, Rick.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, I think I'm right about there. You know, again, I'm looking for feedback from the board tonight, and any elements that you feel that we need to work on. I'm open ears and look forward to working with the planning board in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have. And I can answer any questions you have.
Well, I have purchased petrol at this site for some time. and as I recall, there was some problem at the back of the building, which was fairly minor with a crack in it and so on. So I assumed that would be repaired as part of the restoration here.
Yes, we have an architect on staff, and he is, any elements that need to be upgraded or fixed will be part of this project.
And what's the square footage and the convenience portion of this?
It's just under a hair under 12,000 square feet. Excuse me, is it 1,200 square feet?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,200 square feet, excuse me.
Okay, thank you.
John, you're showing some light posts, some historically designed light posts.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. We're trying to, there really isn't much lighting on the site, and we're trying to incorporate some, gooseneck historic lighting fixtures on the, in order to, so customers can safely traverse the parking lot. So we've got 3 of those proposed, one on the north side and one on the south side and one within that green island.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, and Rick, I know we discussed this in staff meetings, but I don't think the canopy is allowed to be lit.
That is correct. You can have underlighting, but you can't have physical facade lighting around the canopy.
Yeah.
Post lights. This is Council Member Christine Corrado. John, I'm encouraged by this whole project all the way around as a companion to the 12 Corners project. And I really like the dark sky compliant post mounted lights. They're aesthetically pleasing and they'll do the right thing lighting wise. I have 2 questions and then I'll let the board ask their questions. I'm officially the liaison, but I always have questions. Is there any opportunity for, in addition to the bike racks, which is excellent because East Avenue has really turned into more of a biking corridor with the reconfiguration there, is there any potential for a bike repair stand as well? There are numerous models out there that have the attached tools that, they won't walk away, but they're available there for bicyclists to fill their tires, tweak the bits and pieces of the bike if they need it and they don't carry their own tools.
I think that is an opportunity. I could talk to Ken Pirelli, who's, one of the owners, and he is very innovative. I'm glad you brought up the fact of 12 Corners. I don't think that my clients could have purchased any 2 more influential sites in the town of Brighton than these 2. So it's we've had a heavy lift and we'll continue to work with the town. But I don't think that's a big challenge to have. I'd have to get some information possibly from you or staff on what those elements are. But I don't see that being a challenge.
Sure, we could certainly help find some suitable bike stand or bike repair stations. The other question, I know that at the 12 Corners site, there will be 2 electric charging stations. Will any electric charging be incorporated into this facility?
We currently do not have it proposed because I think the fact that the charging stations are generally in pairs on the electrical and we have such limited parking. But again, as we move through the plan, I'll go back to Ken on that and see if we can incorporate something.
Yep, that would be great to see.
Good.
This is Mitch Nellis. I'm looking at the back by the future bioretention pond. That seems like dead space. Is it possible to explore habitat construction back there, low mow sort of low maintenance kind of area, as opposed to keeping it sort of, a lot of people tend towards just keeping it low cut grass. If you do like pollinator beds or even some more native grasses that don't need to be mowed quite as much, save you money and also, provide some habitat in the back in that dead space.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I can incorporate that into the landscape plan. I'm sure that they'll welcome not having to maintain that. I mean, something maybe annually, but not every week I could see happening. But yeah, we can look into that, some kind of meadows or meadow grass or, more native species. We'll do that.
I appreciate the fact that this is, redevelopment of the existing site that's pretty impervious, but it's kind of a bad location in a lot of ways in terms of, the fact that it's like, it really backs right up on Allen's Creek. While you're doing this, could you also consider doing a little bit more with storm runoff in terms of, you know, larger bioretention area. I know you're on the side of a hill there, but that would be, I guess, my one just overall concern.
Yeah, as I mentioned in my introduction, we are in the Arunikoit watershed, and so that's kind of a heavy lift. And in that little area we identified is really so that you guys didn't yell at me that I didn't do anything, but it's really not sized yet or anything to accommodate. So we'll be working on that. There might be underground chambers associated with that and other elements for groundwater recharge. So I guess you just hold tight, and as the plan develops, we'll get you something more.
Okay, no, that sounds good. I'm glad you're thinking about that already, because it's as you have pointed out, it's a really tight spot. But if you could do more with it, that would really be fantastic.
Yeah, I think Everett's going to keep us on our toes on that, so we'll be working with him.
John, this is Paul Johnson. Are there existing tanks, storage tanks underground from the previous use?
Yes, they are. They're located, there's a concrete area south of the building, right where we have the handicap parking on top of it. That is the tank farm currently. And I couldn't give you a clue on the quality or the size or the time span of those tanks.
Okay, so you're going to investigate whether they're suitable for reuse, or you remove them and replace with new?
Yeah, it's my understanding working with these projects that whatever the franchise is, it'd be a Mobile or Sunoco or whoever, they'll take that as their charge to do.
Okay. And it's kind of early in the planning for this question probably, but I assume there'll be some kind of signage on the site, either a freestanding sign or building mounted. Yeah,
I think, and Rick could probably help me on this. I think it's going to be building mounted, and I don't think we're allowed to have anything on the canopy. We did talk about that little wall on 12 corners. We have a wall element with a sign proposed, so that might be the only signage that we pursue, is maybe something on that wall and something on the building. But no pole mounted signs or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, the wall might be a little bit of a challenge. I mean, if they wanted to put something on the canopy, that would require a variance. They are allowed to put signage on the building per code.
Yeah.
Just another follow-up is, will there be a kind of an environmental investigation of this site to determine whether there's been any, underground leakage or anything of that sort?
We did prepare the seeker form. Nothing got dinged at that level. I think usually if there was some spill, that the DEC would flag it at that point. So I don't think that they're proposing any further investigation related to that. I do know that contractually the buyer, my client, is going to do a phase one at a minimum. So I think all parties involved are aware, what the limitations are, and there could be something that pops up during this process. So I don't have access to that phase one, but I will provide it to Rick when it's complete, or if it's already completed.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
This is David, and I was out there today, and I see there's a garage and a house behind your lot. And does that give you a little more protection as far as those buildings between your lot and Allen's Creek there?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I looked at that myself. I got nervous today while preparing for the meeting. I'm like, who owns that? And that's actually part of the friendly home. So I don't know if there's a maintenance staff person that works there or lives there. But if you feel a fence would be nice there, we can incorporate that or some plantings. That slope really doesn't benefit, it kind of drains right down towards them. So it is a unique area and sensitive area, but I could take any input you have related to that.
Okay, thanks.
Do more questions? All right, could we summarize the
Yeah, and again, just remembering that this is only at concept, so there's still a long way to go with the plan. But I do have just currently investigate bike repair stations, consider charging stations. We'll want to see more on the stormwater and how that's going to be handled and incorporated into the site. Possibly doing a, like a low-mow habitat area to the rear. And our typical comments would be, para landscaping, a landscape plan by a licensed landscape architect using native species. I don't know if you guys, we can always use the investigate some street trees there, like that corner might provide a place for a street tree, possibly something that we can also put in there.
You read my mind, Rick. I thought I was going to try to stay true to my promise not to say more, but a street tree is always a good thing.
All right, I'm taking good notes.
And of course, we'll have the comment that we'll have additional comments as plans progress.
Right.
You guys all set with John?
We are. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Thanks for your input and look forward to working with you with this and 12 Corners. Have a great night.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, let's move on to the Tappy property.
Why don't we go on to,
you want to talk about the school next? Sure.
Yeah, let's go on to 2PNB2.
All right. Application of the Brighton Central School District and Talmudical Institute of Upstate New York. All right, what do we have on this? I know we've talked some about this. But... we have the letter of intent from Woods Oviatt Gilman.
Ready, Matt?
I'm ready. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. Matt Tomlinson, Marathon Engineering. We're the site and civil engineer for this, working in conjunction with Jerry Goldman with Woods Oviatt. And we have a application that we have submitted for concept review to the planning board. And we thought it would be of benefit to come hear what the conservation board has to say for initial comments on this as well. This project is intended to provide a school for Jewish youth, and it's a school that is currently located off of Park Avenue in the city of Rochester and has been looking for a permanent home for quite some time. This property became available and the school district wanted to sell it and is now under contract with the Talmudical Institute to sell it. And it really lends itself obviously to school use because that's what it's been used for a long time, although and the Montessori school and some other tenants are currently occupying portions of the building space. So the intention here is to leave the existing tenants in the building and relocate some of them to different areas. That's designated in the blue that's being highlighted currently. Thank you. And the wing that protrudes on the existing school out towards Winton Road will be converted for a portion of the Talmudical Institute as well as an addition. And right now the first addition, if you will, or the first phase of that is the brown area there, which is approximately 6 classrooms and 20 dorm rooms with 23,000 square feet. And then a future addition, if the school is successful, their student body grows, that will be a future 20 dorm addition, essentially doubling the number of students. And that's a 9,000 square feet represented at the end of that residential wing. The site is located on the east side of Winton Road South and backs to Idlewood Road where the bus loop and existing parking is. The intention is that the new school addition and functionality and traffic flow all are from the Whitten Road side. The existing tenants being the Montessori school and potentially the Parks and Rec department, I believe, is in there right now. Rick, correct me if I'm wrong. Those operations and the tenants that currently use the drop-off and parking on the Idlewood Road would remain exactly the way they are today. So there would be no additional traffic on those neighborhood roads from the Whitten Road side. We are proposing to extend, and you see the loop, if you will, in the light red for deliveries and fire lane down to the existing asphalt along the south side of the school. This school has live-in students, students come here to live here in the dorm rooms and be on site all the time. The students do not have vehicles. There are approximately 6 to 8 teachers and rabbis that come to teach the classes and to as well as a form of live-in staff. And I'm a little shaky on the details, excuse me, because I'm still learning myself about how this school operates. But essentially, there's very little traffic other than during holy holidays and events where parents and or visiting dignitaries will come to celebrate that with the students. The proposed impervious is relatively minimal for the site. What we're proposing is realigning the access drive to better align with the existing parking. We are redoing the ADA parking spaces near our proposed new front entrance and drop off, which there will be a covered drop off there. A few additional parking spaces immediately adjacent to the building to support the Parks and Rec tenant along the east face of that parking, exactly. And otherwise, that existing parking configuration is going to stay the same that it is today. The existing access road, again, is intended to be realigned, but that is essentially a swap of existing impervious for new. And then the fire lane required by fire code, we have to have a 20-foot wide minimum fire lane within 400 feet of any new or constructed building. And so what we're proposing there serves two functions. One, because of the live-in population, there will be a full kitchen within the proposed addition. And so food deliveries and the like, as well as dumpster and staff parking for folks that are working at the school, can park in the rear outside of the tenant and visitor area located on the north. And then there's an existing larger asphalt area that was part of the previous school, has some basketball hoops on it. That is large enough to provide an emergency vehicle turnaround without providing vehicular connection out to the Idlewood Road connection point. So that was important from our understanding of the neighbor feedback or concerns that we anticipate. We are working with a traffic engineer, and we are actively trying to schedule a neighborhood meeting in order to further facilitate input and conversation with the neighbors about the proposed plans. There's a couple of environmental items on the site, which I want to talk through quickly before I turn it over to the board for questions. Number one, Allen's Creek runs through the site, basically paralleling Whitten Road south until it gets to the north portion of the site as it jogs a little bit to the east. That is a protected stream, as you can imagine. We did have a wetland delineation done to ensure that there were no other wetlands on the site. That was done by Gene Paulette with Environmental Resources. All of that flagging and delineation is well into the woods and outside of any potential disturbance proposed for the project. The existing driveway and bridge that bridge Allen's Creek are proposed to remain exactly the same as they are today for access. So there'll be no disturbance to what I believe is a woodlot EPOD, being the woods along bordering the site as well. In addition, there is a 100-year floodplain associated with this section of Allen's Creek. and that does proceed through the site. We've had preliminary discussions with the town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works about what permitting would be required for compensatory storage for the minimal improvements that we are doing within that floodplain area. And we will be required to obtain a water course and floodplain, I think is the title of it, EPOD permit as part of our planning board approval process. So with that, we have not fully developed site plans. This is at the conceptual level. We do anticipate adding street trees, shade trees, landscaping along the foundation, that kind of thing. And we'll be developing those plans along with our stormwater management mitigation practices. There are existing outfalls from this school property to the creek. Our intention again is to not disturb any of the woodlot or further into the floodplain limits that we need to. So our intention is to design these practices in such a way that they can tie into the existing outfalls that have been there for quite some time as part of the school and discharge. So that will require some creative design in order to accomplish that, but we think that the benefits definitely outweigh the challenges there for treating the stormwater. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have and listen to the comments.
No questions?
Oh, I have a few. The site is very flat, and as you mentioned, a big chunk of it is floodplain already. Have you considered, would it be possible putting in more stormwater management over on the west side towards on the Winton Road side of things? Is one question. It's such a sensitive area, and it's overhangs the creek already. That seems like an important thing to consider. There seems to be ample room for trees on the east side of the property. That's always been an area that's been mowed, but could be managed in a different way. And although I'm not generally in favor of increased impervious area, I wonder, given that this is going to be a residential, if it might be worth doubling the size of that basketball court, which may seem like an odd request, but in terms of, on-site, pedestrian use, that's a thing. And the other question that's been a problem for a long time, and this is as much a question for my colleagues on the board, is there any plan for any sort of sidewalk connection up to Westfall Road? That's been a hazard. Kids have walked that shoulder for years, and it's an obvious need for sidewalk connection. I know nobody's supposed to go that way. People are supposed to go out to Idlewood, but the reality is, of course, that it is used by pedestrians. So sort of a range of things.
Sure, I'm taking notes. So if you guys want to keep going, or I can address each member individually, whatever the board's preference is.
More questions.
Now, I have a question looking at the existing building where the main entrance is, and there's the offices for Brighton Recreation, and there's a number of what used to be classrooms are used for other uses. Will they be used by the Institute? And will they be moving to another part of the existing building?
My understanding is that sorry, I changed the order that I just said I was going to do. My understanding is that the prospective buyer, being the school, is currently in negotiations with the Parks and Rec to determine that very question. But my understanding is they'd be looking to relocate them elsewhere in the building as it stands right now.
Okay, yeah, I know there's a small low ceiling gymnasium over in that area. And then of course the bigger high ceiling gymnasium over in this other area. Okay.
I would just second George's comment about tree planting native species, both around the pavement and to shade the building itself. I think there's a unique opportunity here to do that, especially with the new addition and everything.
Like to follow on to George's question about sidewalk on South Winton. I recognize that that's a state route, right? State route, right, Rick? No, county.
County, yep.
County. So that's a discussion at many levels. But within the site as well, are there plans for pedestrian access? I know things can get pretty darn soggy out there, and I recognize students, the young men are probably not averse to getting soggy, but visitors and others may be interested in being able to navigate the property without being up to their ankles in mud.
If that's all the questions, I've got some answers and some considerations for you there. So I'll just take them in order. So more stormwater treatment. Yeah, absolutely. That is something that this site is going to require quite a bit of study and thought on, not least because of how flat it is, but also because there is the overlying floodplain compensatory storage that will be required to be designed and configured in such a way that we can treat the stormwater not separate from, but in conjunction with the storage that we have to create for the floodplain impacts that we'll have with the minimal building and parking encroachments into that floodplain. So there will be more than just that single proposed stormwater management facility practice that's installed. That is going to take some additional coordination with the town engineer and you folks, of course, as we move this along. So I do anticipate more than just that one practice being present on the site. Trees on the east side, you'll note we did show many of the trees that kind of ring the bus loop and that are adjacent to the building. So I think they're, I'm sorry, on the other side, the existing trees are shown around the bus loop area. Yep. Yeah. So there's some nice presence and some good sized trees over there, as well as bordering the fence in between the neighbors on Idlewood. And our detailed site plans will have a little bit more information there for you folks. I think if you visit the site, can we plant more? Absolutely. But there is some really nice trees over there currently. And we absolutely will have a full landscaping plan for the west side around the new portions in order to properly frame the building and the investment that the school is putting in the property. They want this to be their home, their campus, and for it to be very welcoming. So I do anticipate that you'll be satisfied with what we put together when we come in for the full planning board application. When it comes to sidewalks, I happen to be working on another project within your town that you'll be seeing very shortly that may have some impact to those sidewalks. They're definitely not contemplated or necessarily within the scope of what we're proposing here for offsite sidewalks up to Westfall, but that may be something that this board sees sooner rather than later, and I'll leave it at that. I touched on trees to shade the building and pavement already. We definitely will consider and incorporate those. And then pedestrian access around the site. I realize it's a pretty light gray here, but we are proposing kind of a walking trail, which loops from the sidewalk near the drop off all the way back around to essentially where the basketball courts are. That's just intended to be a wood chip walking trail, but we'll do some minor improvements to that to try to keep it dry most of the time. And that essentially gives a loop that could be walked on asphalt all the way around the building and the property. The intention here is to provide some privacy for the school and for the students, but also we recognize that this has been a community feature, if you will, for the neighborhood and for folks walking from Idlewood, utilizing some of the open space that they may not have on their own lots. And the intention is not to change that. Of course, if it becomes a problem, that'll be something that's kind of dealt with on a case-by-case basis. But, you know, we explored adding fencing, adding gates, making sure that the property was secure, like a lot of schools are doing these days. But that's definitely not the intention of the school, is to close it off. For a private portion that will be set apart, I'll say, for the existing or the new students that live there, we're proposing to fence the kind of interior courtyard that's created as part of the building addition, and that'll have some outdoor gathering space for the students that'll feel somewhat private because it's in the courtyard, while still allowing the neighborhood to utilize that open space on the property. So again, this is kind of all pending further review and further discussion, but some of the things that the design team and the ownership team is considering as we move along with this process.
Anything more? Well, we have a pretty good list of questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll incorporate those as we move forward. Again, we wanted to hear if the board, I don't view any of these as serious concerns that I've heard, just things to consider and bring more information back to this board on. And we thank you for the comments. And I'm sure Rick will get me something with a summary of that so that we can continue to consider those as we design.
All right.
Ambitious and promising.
So basically what I have for the most part is that we have concerns regarding stormwater management and want to see, you know, exactly how that's going to be handled. Our typical landscaping plan, native plantings, provide shade trees to help around the building itself. Also, if there's something that can be done between the project and Idlewood neighbors in terms of landscaping, walkability around the site. I think they did show us that, but maybe a little more detail on that. And that's really what I took out of this from this discussion, unless you guys want me to be more specific about something. Good?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Matt, you pretty much got it. If you need more clarification, you can give me a call.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. The Tabby property.
Yes, the Tabby property. This we saw back in October, if you remember. We really didn't have any comments. It's coming back now for final site plan approval. Basically 830 Highland Avenue, new house constructed on the side of the hill. They need a steep slope EPOD permit. I'm trying to see if I got a good. So basically, house pad, it's a garage underneath with basically a living area on top, an area here for concrete for entering the garage area, a driveway that slopes less than 10% down to Highland. Pretty still well wooded. And again, no comments from previously, so I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to add at final.
I had just one minor question looking this over. I saw that off the garage parking space, there are a couple of rooms. One of them is marked studio, and I wondered if that had any water that we would need to be concerned with, or
Well, they'll probably have some type of water hose bib in the garage itself. The studio, I think, is more for like one of the owners, like more like an art studio, more of a personal hobby type studio.
yeah, I assumed that. I just wondered, typically if I had a studio, I'd want a utility sink in.
Yeah, and they'll have that down in that lower. It's like a basement / garage. So
Sure.
I'm sure they'll have some type of slop sink or something in that area.
Just a minor point. That's all. Thank you.
Are we good with that?
Well, I had a comment. This is David. I see they have plans to take down some 13 trees,
Correct.
7 arborvitae, and 6 others. A number of those look like they're just either fair to poor condition, and only a couple of them are good. Is there a way to request that same number of trees be planted elsewhere within the town to replace these trees? Do we have any input of that nature?
Really can't make them plant them elsewhere in town.
Yeah.
We can go, on site, which they are proposing to do some additional plantings on site, but basically they're meeting the code requirements for a new house on a lot. Basically the code requires 1 tree for every 5,000 gross square feet. When you're constructing on a vacant lot in a new house. I mean, so obviously they're meeting their code requirements, and on top of what they're saving, they're also adding some additional trees throughout. I think they're meeting the code requirements in that regards.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? You have a follow-up question, David?
Yeah, but it's for a property across the street. It's not about this one, but
okay.
So I have one question about the concrete surface, and if there's any potential for them to consider semi-pervious paving there, whether it's, I know it's not truly pervious paving that's possible, but whether it's that concrete that does accommodate some water penetration, or paving with the sand grouting, pavers with sand grouting rather than cement grouting. Is that something we can encourage them to do?
We can suggest it, Christine. We can't make them do it, but we can suggest that perhaps using some impervious type of surface in there, or excuse me, pervious type of surface in there.
Yeah, it
as a
seems,
consideration.
Yeah, it seems
again,
they may find it more maintainable as well. Otherwise, that front entryway becomes a sheet of ice in winter. The maintenance could be a challenge, and so you get the double benefit of a safer surface, and the runoff isn't diverted in the same way as impervious surface.
Yeah, we can put that down as consider that.
This is going to be a really neat house.
It's going to be really neat. It's going to be something that you don't see around here, and I wish I had a elevation drawing in here.
I think we saw it before. It makes me think of things in California.
Yes.
Really neat.
Like, something you see on the side of the hill.
Yeah.
In California, overlooking the ocean.
And all windows along the front, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And do we have old business, new business?
Oh, Dennis, can I bring up that other
Yes,
property?
please.
Yeah, I went over there, I guess it was yesterday, and had a look at this. And I saw a sign across the street. It was from Howard Hanna Real Estate. The sign said, build your dream home in a Brighton Town Park. Can they do that or even say that? I drove down, no, it's a Persimmon Park there. It's a little drive. And I guess the property listed is number 57. There's a mailbox with number 57 on. Can they do that? I don't know exactly where.
Yeah, you know, realtors have a way of saying whatever they want.
Yeah.
Obviously, they can't build in our park. Perhaps there is a lot there that could possibly be built on. You know, that would have to obviously come in front of the department, and that determination would have to be made.
Yeah, I think maybe the lot is down at the end of that drive into the east.
Yeah, across that.
Something.
There's a couple lots down in there.
Right. So in the park
Eldridge
means, right, surrounded, like backing
by
up
park.
to the park. It's not in the park itself. You feel like you're in the park when you build a house there, I guess, is the idea.
They'll have to be very creative as they build within that space, because there's no public sewer. There's no, there's a lot that needs to go into it, and they're asking an awful lot for the property. So
really,
yeah.
Although I know
you're aware.
Sorry,
you're aware of it, Christine?
Am I a realtor? No, but I'm nosy.
No. Are you aware of it? Of the
Am I
property?
aware of that property? Yeah. In that listing.
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of it, if it even sells in our lifetime. So friends, I'm sorry I have to leave early. I have to go pick up a kid from school, but you're all in good hands. We'll see you next month.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Christine. Yes, we did discuss the property across the street, and they're not building in public property without a lot more discussion than we've had. Any additional comments on this new business then? Oh, Paul, please.
EMC report?
Oh, yeah. The EMC met on January 13th, and this was their annual joint meeting with the county's recycling advisory committee. And the main feature of that whole agenda was a report by the staff of the Eco Park Resource Recovery Facility. And they shared a lot of information and figures and facts about the amounts and types of recycling that has been occurring over the past year. And I think the overall message was that there are increasing amounts, obviously, of things being recycled, increasing number of people and businesses engaging in recycling, which is a positive for everybody. A couple of things that they highlighted, and I found kind of interesting, that clothing is becoming one of the largest single recycling items that passes through the facility. So they're finding some innovative ways to deal with that. Seasonally, the Christmas tree recycling program went well, and they partnered with the Helmer Nature Center to get a reuse of the byproducts of the Christmas tree shredding. So that was a success. Composting of food waste is another area that apparently is becoming more and more of interest to the community and some of the municipalities. The city of Rochester actually has 2 sites that they run 2 days a week where people can drop off accumulated food waste for a recycling effort. That happens at Genesee Valley and Cobbs Hill Park. And they're looking at a pilot program that they've been conducting with, I think, 1,000 participants, and they claim they've recycled or diverted 20 tons of waste from the landfill through that food program, which was kind of an astounding number. 2021 was a record year for the resource recovery facility and household hazardous waste collection. 3,000 tons of electronic items were recycled and accepted at the Eco Park, as well as a number of remote sites that they do throughout the county, in the city, Greece, Webster, one in Brighton, and one in Fairport. Did I mention this earlier? Yes, besides clothing, books are becoming a rather large volume of recyclable materials that they're having to deal with. So that is a new challenge for them. He specifically mentioned volumes of encyclopedias that people no longer are outdated and no longer used in the household are coming in regularly. They also have a rather robust business waste program for particularly items like painters and school districts, construction contractors, and so forth, with demolition materials and other kind of unique items for recycling. So they've really expanded their business outreach efforts, and again, the paint recycling program is one of those. The drug take-back program, actually, they've tried to expand that into in-store pharmacies so that you can just drop off. If you're picking up a prescription, you can drop off your any bottles or containers that you've collected over time. And I think generally they're looking to promote food composting, both by businesses and at individual homes, so that you may be seeing some additional public outreach efforts to promote and encourage that. So that was the substance of the meeting. Any questions?
Good. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other business pending? No? All right. Well, then let's consider our actually 3 trees that are up for removal. Any comments on those, or can I hear a motion to accept the arborist's recommendation? Comments?
No, I agree. They could be removed.
All right. Are we all in favor of removal?
Yes.
And I am as well. So yes, we will accept the arborist's recommendation. Those 3 trees come down.
That was with replacement, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there was
Remove
some
and replace.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether we'd replace all 3.
I think you probably could just replace it with one.
Yes, there are quite a few of them.
I mean, they're all pretty darn close together. So one nice tree there would probably do the trick.
Yes, and I noticed too that these trees are unusually tall for locusts. So they do appear to be somewhat light starved.
Okay.
Is that acceptable to everyone? Single replacement for that group?
Just a curiosity question.
Yes,
Dennis, what type of tree would these be replaced with? Would they put another beech tree back there, or is that
Would
there a
depend on,
recommendation?
yes, it depends on what's available. And if multiple species are available, then the homeowner would have a say in that.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. All right, so we move to accept this with a single replacement for the trio that are involved. All right. Anything we've missed? Well, then I guess I'll hear a motion to adjourn. And thank you all for your contributions tonight.
Karen and I have a quick question.
Yes, please, Mitch.
We're looking for a guest speaker who knows about trees for an event in April for Color Bright and Green. We do talks at the library. You know, George's name came up if he's willing, or if anybody else knows anybody that could give a talk to interested people through the library in April. I know, George, are you interested?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to run out of the room now.
Yeah, almost signed
Or we
up
could
here.
continue to look around. It's you know, we're just looking for, we like to do topical things. We've done electric vehicles, electric heating and stuff like that for houses. You know, it's usually an interested crowd will come and talk, but if you know, if it's adding to your plate and you'd like us to look for somebody else, I would totally understand.
What's the date?
It would be
We
a date
have-
that worked for you. Like
Yeah.
the thought was that it would be probably in the second half of April, but date is really flexible. Usually what we do with a speaker is if they're interested, work with the library to see what dates are available that work for the speaker.
Sure.
Great.
Thank you, George.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch, George, about what you want to talk about and stuff so we can promote it, and we'll figure out the details. Thanks.
All right, fair enough.
So are we adjourned?
Next meeting would be March 8th. Everybody going to be around?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't know what kind of format we're going to be in, but be prepared, March 8th.
All right. Good
All right.
night, everyone, and
Right.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.